Hey guys, Dullahan here with an update on Exodus. It's a mod to rebalance Dawn of War 3 to be a more competitive and enjoyable game. And so recently I just released version 1.0, and what this kind of represents is that I've achieved the balance goals that I had in mind when I came up with the idea for the mod. And now I'm kind of just more looking to do some minor bug fixing and playtesting, that sort of stuff. So, a lot of the big changes are around the power core mode and the economy. These are the ones that are really going to change how the game feels in a big way. There's changes to line units and some other stuff like AI and elites and the elite balance and all that crap, but the big stuff is the economy. So what I've done is the economy is more similar to how the game was when it originally came out. So requisition is reduced from, I think it's like plus 330 or something like that, to plus 240, and then the power income is increased by 50%, but back to plus 36. So this is more similar to how the game was when it originally came out. Relic really changed the economy of the game, and I don't think it was for the better. They reduced power income, so you essentially could not go for tier 2 units until after phase 2 hit at 10 minutes. You just couldn't. So the metagame kind of became this awkward spam. It turned into sniper spam, all this stuff that you couldn't punish properly. You can't punish sniper spam with a fast vehicle because you simply can't get vehicles quick enough to counter it. So what ends up happening is the metagame became very spammy, getting tons of techs, tons of devastators, tons of snipers, and doing that sort of build. Savvy people would also pair that up with upgrades and weapon upgrades for tactical marines. But to kind of start with a overview of the changes. So the big thing is the economy changes. So how do you get more money now? So escalation phases don't increase money nearly as much. It's 30% per phase. So phase 2, 30%, phase 3, 30%, etc., etc. Obviously, that's not nearly as high as it is in retail. So how does it work? Well, now you get 50% more resources for upgrading each individual resource node. And I think this makes for a more interesting game for several reasons. The main one being that you have a lot more control about how much you invest into your economy. So you can decide when you want to... Basically, if you want to invest in economy instead of units, that's a viable option now. Whereas, it wasn't really that viable before. It kind of was for like a little bit, and then it was kind of too viable for a while, and then it became, too hard, basically. So now you can decide if you want to upgrade a node, and the other thing is if you go and capture a node that's been upgraded, now you can benefit from the upgrade. So there's a bit of a dynamic there where you have to basically be proactive about how you manage your economy and defend your economy from your opponent. Some other changes to the economy have to do with the refund, or not the refunds, the bounty for killing shield gens or turrets. So those have been halved over retail. So those are down to 250, 25, and 1 elite point per shield gens, and 500, 250, 25, and then 500 something for turret. Anyway, it's like half. And the advantage of that is that if you lose a shield gen early on, you're not quite out of the game anymore. Whereas, obviously, it was pretty devastating to lose in retail. And in terms of game balance, there's a lot of stuff that some of it's really subtle and some of it's pretty major. So, for example, workers can no longer tie units up. That's a really big change to how the game plays, but an important one as well, because it was a little too easy just to safely tie stuff up. A lot of stuff that was kind of strong, like tactical marines, do less damage now, but their upgrades are stronger. So now you're encouraged to get those tactical marine upgrades. A lot of infantry upgrades are also a lot cheaper and a lot stronger. Health upgrades are about 20% for Space Marines, Orcs, Elder. I kind of forget the exact percentage. I think it's 25% shields. And then vehicles also get some hit points on top of their shields when they upgrade. Mainly Vipers and Falcons benefit from this. Wraith units do not. So it kind of makes Vipers a lot more viable because they were way too squishy and their shield was just not good enough. Some minor stuff like Scout Mines now regenerate over time, so you only need one Scout. Weapons teams like Devastators now have a power cost. I mentioned this before, but the main change to this is that they're now more of a suppression team, more akin to Dawn of War 2. Not quite as extreme as the Dawn of War 2 ones, obviously, because that would be a little too crazy. Some of our changes, generators are more durable, and they still benefit from vehicle upgrades. So upgraded vehicles will make your generators in the late game actually quite durable. Obviously not like super invincible, but they get like pretty up there in health. So it makes it a lot harder just to instantly nuke generators. It's very important in the late game. A lot of small tweaks, like Death Watch can't throw his grenade as far as stuff like that. A lot of elite costs have been changed, so this is something I did in version 1.0, but something I've been thinking about for a while. So Diomedes is now a 4.0 elite again, pretty much back to how he was in vanilla. Vendread has been bumped up to 8, and his maximal charge has been nerfed, as well as his damage. Solaria got a little bit of a damage buff. And what's the last elite got cost change? Oh yeah, Beauty got changed to a 10-point elite to kind of represent her increased utility over top of the Gorkanaut, because she has a lot more utility abilities and support stuff that I kind of felt like she needed to be knocked down a peg. So to kind of help balance these suppression teams, their damage scales based on distance. So the closer units get to them, the more damage they take, and you can see the slow is now a percentage rather than a flat speed modifier. So now it's effective against everything equally. In the old version, it was -1 movement speed for basic suppression, and if you had this improved suppression upgrade, it was -2. And that was only something Space Marines had access to. But now it is I believe 40% and 60% respectively, so improved suppression is quite effective. And this is kind of represents Space Marines' reduced melee capabilities. But I think it makes it more interesting because you're more capable of just stopping for example, like some sort of weird rush with the like a Wog or a big Wog or Eldar Fleet of Foot. All that stuff gets slowed down a lot more. You can see it does mean you have to be a lot more careful when engaging against suppression teams because there's no retreat mechanic in Dawn of War 3. That's one of the reasons suppression was as weak as it was in the vanilla game, because it was just simply like a little too strong almost to be able to just knock people back or basically keep them trapped in. All the stuns have reduced duration, so now stuns are more of a interrupt for when abilities are being channeled and that sort of stuff. You're not going to be able to chain stun units. All the stuns are about one. It's like MOBA stuns almost, where they're like very brief, but enough to kind of disrupt stuff. Because in the base game, they were all about 2 or 3 seconds, and you could usually chain them. So what ends up happening is you had a unit that just simply couldn't do anything for 10 seconds, and it feels really bad that way. So the AI has some improvements as well. They cheat a little bit more, and they also use their abilities a little smarter like that, where they're blocking off the Devastator. And you can see the Combi rockets have also been buffed. They do a lot more damage, which makes them a lot stronger. And then, what else is there? Oh yeah, the thing about the Meganop's wall is that actually uses suppression. So now that is better just by virtue of using the suppression. Terminators also do some suppression, so that makes them a little bit more interesting as well. And we're just gonna upgrade our economy a bit here, get that power income going. And I like having the option to upgrade your income. You're not beholden to the escalation phases. The escalation phases still do have an impact. It still does get you up to the higher tiers a little bit quicker. You get 30% per tier again. So that's just to keep the resources kind of proportional to how it is in the vanilla game. Just because otherwise it might end up a little too, a little too weak. And the Vortex Grenade does a lot less percentage damage. It's still useful. It still does increase damage taken and all that jazz. But it's not quite as insane as it used to be. So you see that slow going into effect there. You can see how strong that is. I think this actually uses the improved suppression one. So this makes the Meganobs a lot stronger just by virtue of buffing the other stuff. But of course, heavy armor against light armor, or against nothing that does heavy armor damage, makes this kind of difficult. Workers, yeah, they can't attack anymore. That just kind of balances them out, honestly. AI uses abilities. AI also, it has more knowledge. So basically the AI has a wall hack now. And the way this kind of balances out is that it makes the AI behave smarter. So for example, if it sees you walk into stealth cover in the vanilla game, it'll just kind of leave you alone. It'll just assume you're gone. And obviously that's not how a real player would react to you going into stealth cover. So that's one of those things. It makes them look a lot smarter, even though it is kind of cheating. And I think it plays a lot better because of that. And plasma guns can shoot a little bit longer. You see how this AI is just making heavy use of the Meganob's abilities here to be really annoying. attack up to tier 2 here. Surprised he's not actually retreating this the Mega Knobs just yet. So yeah, the health upgrades are a lot cheaper. Damage upgrades are also cheaper. Vehicle upgrades also cost power now instead of requisition. So vehicle upgrades are less of a no-brainer than they were before. I wonder if these mobs are actually going to retreat. There's some sort of retreat percentage health that they will actually retreat at that is probably a little too, you know, a little too generous, because obviously these guys should probably be going home at this point. So we're just going to get some more resources. The AI is also a lot more aggressive about capturing points and building resources on top of them. So the AI not only does have a little bit of a resource advantage and a little bit of a elite point advantage especially, but it's a lot smarter about just getting more resources and being more aggressive that way. It builds more units, it does a lot more stuff like that. So it's kind of a bit of an equalizer, because the AI would never be as smart. It'll tie up units when it's advantageous for it to do so, although it's not quite good at knowing when it shouldn't engage at all. But it is kind of retreating here. It's running away from this because it realizes it's outmatched. So it's not, you know, completely stupid, but it isn't as brilliant as, you know, your average player. You're gonna get some vehicles out, show some of the changes there. A lot of the nuke abilities have been tweaked, so I didn't touch Orbital too much, as Orbital I felt was always really balanced because you had a lot of counterplay there. But for example, the Whirlwind, or sorry, the Rocks and the Eldritch Storms. The Eldritch Storm does a lot less slow, so it's no longer this kind of ridiculous, like, you can't even move at all ability. So the slow is reduced, and the Rocks, the final rock that falls down does a lot less damage. So it's a lot more of a, you want to pick up the football and basically run around near your opponents to do damage, rather than just, you know, relying on the final rock to do all the damage you need to do. And you see this, the Scout, also las cannons cost a little bit of power now. The Scout being able to put the mines down a lot sooner and a lot more frequently, and then it regenerates. That makes it a lot more viable just to have one Scout squad kind of doing the mines rather than having to constantly replace them. So we're going to show some stuff with the Whirlwind. Whirlwind has a new visual indicator of where it is targeting. This makes it, you know, a lot more fun to play against the Whirlwind, because you don't have that crap where it's shooting and it's shooting, but you can't really tell where it's coming from. It's a lot more fair that way. So we'll get a Whirlwind out pretty soon here. Not a lot of changes to the faction mechanics. They all kind of behave pretty much identically. I didn't really feel like they needed to be changed. I considered making WoG scale based on the number of WoG towers, but I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of work for something you probably won't even know there's a difference. So objectives, oh yeah, this is different from Power Core. Objectives get a lot more durable and a lot quicker. Not like amazingly more durable, but enough that it makes a difference in the early game. Pressuring them is a lot harder. And of course, with the reduced money, you kind of don't have as many units, whereas you're more incentivized to upgrade the units that you have. So the armies are a little smaller at the start, but they very quickly become stronger. And I think that plays a lot better. It's less spammy. It's less 7 snipers instantly killing you. You can still do that stuff, but you know, you can get punished for it by faster vehicles or heavy armor units and that sort of stuff. It's a lot easier to pull that stuff off. Whereas in retail, it's a little too easy to just ignore. So we're going to get a Whirlwind out, kind of show off the new decorator. I'm trying to think what else I can talk about that's really substantial. You kind of see how the economy changes kind of play out. So you tech up a little bit quicker, it feels a lot better that way. We'll kind of get the Whirlwind in here and do some stuff. Las cannons have less damage, and obviously they cost more power. The Devastators cost a lot more power, so you can't spam Devastators anymore. Yeah, I want to get some maybe cool elites out, and we'll show off maybe Solaria's buffs a little bit. She's not massively buffed, but she's slightly buffed. So we're going to have the Whirlwind kind of go in and attack here. We'll get some more upgrades here, get some more health. So yeah, you get a lot more health overall. The other big change to health is that vehicle level 3 gives vehicles 30% more health all at once. And another big change is the turrets will now cause stasis rather than stun. The main reason I did this, there's the Whirlwind indicator there, the main reason I did this is it makes the turrets feel more ethereal. And I think it does make it a lot easier in this kind of situation. You can really focus fire these units a lot better. And these units, you can't issue orders to them. So when they're stunned, they're not quite, you know, you can attack them and that's advantageous. But I feel like this plays better this way. And I think it's the stasis duration is also quite a bit longer, so it's a bit more balanced that way. Assault Leap is a lot slower now. It's still pretty quick, but it's no longer instant. The speed that they do it is actually a lot slower. So it's still pretty much instant. Like, you're not gonna be able to do anything about it, but you know, plays a little bit better that way. So you see, I have a lot of requisitions still, just because I don't have a ton of upkeep going on right now. So that was the big limiting factor. You'd see people just build all these rack gens right away to spam units. And it's kind of what Dawn of 3... I think, honestly, the economy changes that Relic made did more harm to the game than anything else. Pre or post-release or anything. In my humble opinion. So we're going to have the Whirlwind kind of bombard over here. AI also builds a ton of walk towers in one spot for whatever reason. I haven't quite understand that. But a lot of players kind of do that too, so AI is learning from the players. So we are going to get some stuff out. There's a lot of small tweaks to like units like Dreadnoughts, where they have the Flamers a bit larger AoE and all that stuff. You know, it's not... Oh yeah, the Beauty's command, this ability here. So the duration's actually reduced. So now it only shields for half the duration of the walk, and this makes it a lot easier to counter. See, the shield kind of comes off there. So while it's still very beneficial, it's no longer this complete uncounterable thing. So we kind of see the AI going off here, doing all sorts of fun stuff. I'm gonna get some walk towers out here. Yeah, shield gen's up to 5,000 health, so quite durable. The AI does get upgrades as well for infantry and stuff, although I'm not sure when it decides to do that. It is a bit late compared to what I would like, but it's still better than nothing, that's for sure. And I think the Whirlwind's a lot more balanced now that you can kind of see where it is firing. But you can see that the AI is actually building a lot of units, and it's actually kind of, you know, putting up a bit of a fight. And it will actually try and dodge the Whirlwind. You can see the units actually trying to run out of the circle there. And this was always how it kind of behaved. It's just, it's a lot easier to visualize when you can see the circle. And it does use abilities, you know. So that's kind of cool. Vendread. I'm going to skip the Vendread to kind of get Solari out. I kind of want to show off some of the changes to her. But ultimately, I feel like the game is in a much better place. I mean, of course, like, that's going to be my opinion, regardless, probably, because I did make the mod. But, you know, I enjoy playing it a lot more. Like, when I go back and play retail, sometimes I don't have a lot of fun. The economy just really frustrates me. And I just kind of get frustrated with the economy. And I don't really know why I play it. You just get mass snipers or ASMs, all these units, and you end up playing this weird game of like just basically trying to delay the game until it just makes the game really early game focused. And I don't know, it's just not as enjoyable to me. So we get some health upgrades for these vehicles, and they're gonna become real tanky. Get the Dreadnought out here, and then we're gonna get Solari out. Her damage isn't majorly buffed; it's only like 15%, but you know, just a little bit to make her a bit more appealing over the Paladin. And she also has less minimum range, which is kind of the bigger change. So that means that she can engage from a little bit farther out. You can see the AI just using this Mega Knobs really effectively. And you know, the AI isn't terrible. It's way better than Dawn of War 2, where it actually uses abilities. But you know, it's one of those things where it's just so easy to beat. Like, does it really matter? It's actually tying up the anti-vehicle units, for example. It's prioritizing them. You see how much health this Dreadnought has. It's up to 3,600 health, and with Tier 3, it'll get another 30% on top of that. So it becomes very durable, very quickly. We're gonna bombard Gorguts here. You see the Dreadnought's just doing work down here. So, you know, this might make people a little scared to see multiple Dreadnoughts kind of coming in, but I don't think it's that bad. Following Deathwatch over here. We'll get some las cannons. The Dreadnought's still going over here, doing tons of damage. He's kind of attacking the wrong thing though. He's attacking the bubble. Dreadnought does go down there to the Mega Knobs in melee. Got another Dreadnought out here. And Solaria should be out pretty soon here. And we see the Mega Knobs are dodging the ability again. Of course, teleporting out of here. A few big changes. Otherwise, several units. Kilocans are now purely anti-vehicle. They don't do true damage anymore with their rockets. And what this makes them kind of play a little bit better because they it's more of a that's the word. I lost my train of thought there all of a sudden. I don't know. I'll think of it later. So Solaria comes in here. So increased minimum range, which means she technically has like a melee attack, quote unquote, and that just happens when she gets too close. I believe it does the melee attack. Yeah, you can see this is her minimum range here, so she can't actually shoot her guns. So this used to be about double. So now she can shoot her guns when units are a lot closer. And I think this lets her reverse move a lot better and kind of do stuff that way. Alright, let's go finish this off here. Some power swords. Power swords a little bit buffed, not majorly, but you know, enough that you feel it. And I think Solaria's in a better place now that she can do stuff. Her missiles are still really good. You can see the stun there, it's just enough to interrupt her missile ability, but it doesn't actually stun her for too long. So all the stuns are kind of like that, where they're more designed to disrupt abilities, but not quite cancel them outright. You can see, again, there's the ability on the walk tower wearing off, so again, you can totally counter the walk towers. They're no longer completely immune to ranged attacks. And that just plays better, of course. So Dreadnought, we're gonna get level 3 health. I think he gets up to about 4,000 health. It's pretty decent. Of course, Solaria feels a lot better with more damage. Let's get up to tier 3. So it's a lot of, one of the other big changes I kind of forgot to mention is that turrets are now buildable by default, and if you take the turret doctrine, you actually get a unique ability depending on each faction. There's no tooltip for that, but basically there's more damage for Space Marine turrets. Orc turrets can, when they scuttle themselves, they drop down a big pile of scrap. So you can do some stuff with that, some weird tech stuff, but you know, it's not too crazy. And then the Elder one can actually teleport. So that's kind of like the structures, and it warps around. So same kind of cooldown. But I think that the more durable units through upgrades just feel a lot better. You know, they're not quite as fragile, especially to like the late game elite abilities like Vendread. A lot of the really overtuned elite abilities I did nerf, but most of the 9 points, you know, I did try nerfing them, but it kind of ended up feeling like with the changes to how they played, it just felt bad. You know, that's the only way to describe it. It just started feeling really bad. And people were kind of saying that elites didn't really need to be nerfed, so you know, I think it plays better. So we do have the Beauty dropping in here. Beauty, not really tweaked too much. The only thing I tweaked is that the fist from both Beauty and the Gorkonut do a lot less damage. So originally it did like 2,000 true damage or something ridiculous, and obviously it's a lot less than that now. But it's still quite powerful. So yeah, there's the fist there. So it still hurts. And you can still do stuff like this, pull units in, but it's no longer going to completely murder them by themselves. One thing I did learn about the orbital was it actually moves slower when it hits units, so you can kind of throw your cheap units into it to slow it down and protect your more durable units. And when you get that level 3 upgrade. Yeah, otherwise there's some health buffs to some of the structures, so they're still, you know, pretty similar to the vanilla, but they're not quite as extreme as they were before. Yeah, I think Solaria plays a lot better with the minimum race change. It's kind of a small change, but it does make her a lot better. So yeah, we got level 3 vehicles now, and now the Whirlwind is up to 960 health. So that's a pretty big difference for a Whirlwind. And then Dreadnoughts, I think they get up to... Let me actually get a Dreadnought out here. We'll see. Get the Dreadnought out. This will be the last thing I kind of show off here. But yeah, the turrets kind of come out, and you know, the elder one's got a lot less health, but again, it can teleport, so that's kind of cool. But hopefully, you know, people give the mod a try and let me know what you think. I'm working on like a cumulative changelog because there's some stuff that I changed and I reverted and other stuff, so I have to kind of laboriously go through what is the final changes as of version 1.0, and that's gonna take some time because there's a lot of changes, a lot of changes. A lot of the things that were overpowered, like snipers got a little bit less damage, and of course with the cheaper upgrades, they're less impactful. A lot of the doctrines that were a little overpowered have kind of been nerfed down a little bit, and vice versa. A lot of the really weak doctrines have been buffed. So I think almost everything is viable at this point. You know, there's nothing that's really what I would call underpowered anymore. There's stuff that maybe isn't as appealing as other stuff, and that's always going to be the case. Like, for example, this vehicle healing at the base, that actually heals a lot faster now. So repair is one thing that I'm considering buffing, but at the same time, I don't really want to do that, just because it might be a little crazy. So you see, Solaria actually gets a bit of a double heal, because she's also a vehicle and an elite. So she's going to heal up pretty quickly. And a Whirlwind with the burning down damage. Dreadnought is up to 4480 health, so really durable Dreadnought. That's not, obviously it doesn't compare quite to the elites, but because the elites are more limited. So Solaria's back up to full health now. This also makes Solaria a lot more valuable with this kind of doctrine, but we are gonna kill this, and again, this ability is a lot. I don't know why the AI uses multiple logs at once, but you know, whatever. And yeah, the indicator just makes it so much easier to, and the AI actually dodging them, so it makes it a lot easier to dodge whirlwinds. I really like that a lot. Yeah, I'm probably running out of things to talk about, but basically every elite's been looked at, tuned down. Stuff like bomb squeaks do a lot less damage. There's a really big changelog, and I'm going to work on a more cumulative changelog so you can really see the nitty-gritty details of what's different. But for now, yeah, it's kind of just a lot of eco changes that I think make the game play better. And I think most of the underpowered stuff will be a lot better. All the overpowered stuff will be addressed too. Wazmaka's tractor beam, for example, all the percentage damage stuff has been nerfed just because it was way too good. And yeah, let's only just finish off this game. You can see the power core is about double the health now, so power cores are a lot more durable. And also, if you want to use the shelter ability on a power core, it now costs 1 elite point, and that's just to kind of make. I wanted to add more elite point sinks, so in games where you already have all 3 elites, you got something to spend them on. But that's kind of the only one I added over to nukes. But anyway, thanks for watching. Check out the mod. I'll link to the Steam Workshop page, and we play it every week during the weekly game nights if you want to give it a try. Usually Saturday, Sunday, we kind of post about it. We have a Discord. I'll link to the Discord in my description as well. So if you're interested in trying it out, let me know, and we'll play. Thanks. Bye.